Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And I want to talk today about breaking the cycle with the narcissist, right? Because this is where like a lot of us are stuck. And I want to talk about it in a kind of bigger picture way than this is something you need to do. And there is so much rubbish being put into people's heads about, for example, if you stay, you don't love yourself. It is so much more than that. Another thing I think is very dangerous when people don't understand law of attraction, quantum physics, is they make you believe, or you might believe, because of kind of things getting popularized, they get misunderstood. You know, you get the tiny bit of wisdom distorted. So some people think law of attraction means that you're attracting all the trauma and all the pain and all the suffering in your life, and it's somehow your fault. It has got nothing to do with that. You are not responsible for everything that you attract in your life. Law of attraction isn't about that, right? It is about we attract what we're an energetic match to, but there's much more than that going on in the universe, right? And you also, there are things you can't control that are going to come across your path that are nothing to do with what you've attracted, but you might get tangled up in as well. So it's not as simplistic, it's much more layered than people think. The first thing to know is, just because you've been in a narcissistic abuse cycle, I do not believe means you don't love yourself in any way. This is, you know, people say you should just go and love yourself when they don't understand the dynamic, right? I also want you to know that just because you've attracted some crap in your life doesn't mean you did anything wrong and that you were an energetic match to that, right? We can get tangled up in things because it's a universe of everything. And by the way, everything's attracted to the light. A bit like when you put your headlights on and all the flies and all the bugs come. It's a universe of everything. You're going to attract your energetic matches and other things you're going to come across. And it's about not being tangled in things that don't serve us. So let's look at what I believe healing is, right? So my program is called Sovereign because it's about becoming sovereign to self. And I believe healing is all about reclamation of self. I'm also completely concerned that some people are making you believe that you have to go through everything that was painful and connect to all the pain in the world and in your life to heal. That doesn't seem to be healing people. In fact, it can put them in very dangerous, very dark places. That's not true either. What we have to learn to do is process what's going on with us right now in our current reality, because that's what the body wants to cleanse and purge, right? And emotions are messengers. So what I do with people is help you kind of resolve, because healing, you know, like unprocessed emotions are just unresolved emotions, but you don't resolve them on the level of the mind. You have to let the body process them. You've not got to dig up everything that hurt you, and it can keep you stuck if you do. You've got to resolve what's going on right now emotionally, what's triggering you. Now, healing to me means reclamation of self. So sovereignty is reclamation of self. And it's about reclaiming parts of ourselves that we've kind of given away, perhaps, you know, like it's coming home to who we are, what we want and need, you know, and our authentic truth, right? Noticing where we've given our power away, because any time you abandon yourself, you're going to get pain and suffering. Why? Because it's not healthy for you. You see, there's nothing actually there is so much more right with us than we know. We're kind of being convinced that your emotions are wrong, you shouldn't be having them. This is not true. Your creator, God, made you perfect. Whatever religion you believe in, you were meant to have emotions. But what we're not understanding always is what they mean, or we're fixating on why am I feeling this, rather than allowing the body to do its job and coming to realizations later about what's good and bad for you. I had a conversation on Saturday, a Q&A in the last Sovereign group, and you know, someone, which is very common, talking about why a certain friend isn't wrong. Should she, you know, is there something she should look at in herself? Should she, all this stuff people have learned in shadow work, not understanding that actually your guidance system, you don't have to think too hard. If we would trust it sooner, some people aren't meant for you. I compare it to the fact that I don't like bacon. My body just doesn't like it. My job on the planet is not to go to every doctor and try and get my digestive system to accept bacon. Right? It doesn't matter why my body doesn't like it, actually. If I don't eat it and eat other things, I feel much better. So we've got senses that we ignore. If you separate from self, if you self-abandon, if you push yourself through situations that aren't right for you, you're gonna feel bad for a very good reason. It's not for you, right? It's not meant for you. So you're actually meant to go with your truth in things, and then you wouldn't get so emotionally upset and sick, because you can get physically sick. Many people do. Very common in these cycles, because anywhere you have to completely abandon yourself or fixate on what's wrong with you, that you don't like someone or this isn't working for you. The reason you feel negative emotion is because your body's talking to you and saying, this just doesn't work for us, yeah? But at the simplest version, it's just like, I don't like bacon. Now, when you've been in narcissistic abuse cycles, reclaiming your sovereignty when you've been so disempowered, right? Living in fear, living in trained to abandon yourself, does take quite a spiritual awakening, because you're going to have to transcend the fear of the attachment. What's keeping you stuck is these survival programs, right? We've made the narcissist almost worshipping, almost your God, right? They're your source of survival, love, validation, security, and support, right? You're almost worshipping the devil, right? I don't mean to, it's not your intention, I've done it, right? But that's what you're kind of doing, rather than coming into your truth, your sovereignty, your connection with the divine, and actually putting your life in a spiritual way, where you're trusting life, you're trusting people, and you're trusting your own path, right? So you're worshipping the wrong thing. The fact that you love the narcissist, there's nothing wrong with you in that, right? We're born to love, and in the right environment, your love will be reciprocal. And then when you make compromises or sacrifices for the person you love, it won't even feel bad. It will just feel like something you want to do for someone you love. But with the narcissist, they cannot love you back. They will exploit your love. So your love is a weapon used against you. Now, can you have self-love in these cycles? Not really, because you're literally abandoning yourself, right? So I teach that in my Sovereign program, self-love becomes, like I had a beautiful comment today about a lady said to me, who I love, one of the activations wasn't quite right for her. But that's loving yourself, is speaking up for yourself, not, and I loved hearing that, because, now I can do an alternative for people who that one, she didn't like the music or whatever, it wasn't quite, she had too much resistance to it. So you naturally love yourself when you back yourself, when you don't abandon yourself. You haven't got to work on self-love when you are sovereign, when you're in touch with your true wants, needs, and desires, when you will not separate from self. All healing is about reclamation of self, restoring you to you, right? That's why Sovereign's so healing. So it's like, if you choose to abandon yourself, and that's not, that's like your wants, your desires, your needs, your sense of values, your morality, right? Which you have to do in a narcissistic abuse cycle, then no, you're not going to feel love to yourself, because you're not living self-love. But living self-love means I know thyself. I know what my boundaries are. I know my values, right? And I live by them every day. You automatically will respect yourself and love yourself. You will not feel guilt and shame for speaking up for yourself, which is what I was kind of using the example for today. You just feel, and it gets well received. Like in that situation, I was happy to hear it, because actually I want to make universal things, and I'm happy to have heard that, and to also create something that would also work for her as well. So when you operate from this space, right, and your first reaction isn't that there's something wrong with you, that you actually start trusting yourself, living in a sovereign way, And then you've got so much more capacity to love other people, because you're not coming at it like, I don't come at my sovereignty like, if you try and cross my boundaries, that you're trying to hurt me. I'm not living in defense. It's another thing I teach people all the time. I am not taking any of that. You know, I'm healed. So I don't think if you cross my boundaries or standards, you're just trying to hurt me. But I don't drop them either. I'm willing to communicate them and then open a possibility that all of that can be received with love. Because in a truly loving connection, I want to please you and you want to please me. But there's still room for you to say, but this is, you know, my experience isn't happy here, or is there something else we can do? This isn't working for me, without me feeling like I need to make you wrong, or worse still, say, well, there's something wrong with you because everyone else this works for. You know, your experience is valid and there's room for it in true loving relationships. But to spiritually awaken, you become more sovereign. So please join Sovereign. I'm opening the doors right now. We're doing the warm up and then I'm going to go into the modules for the new round. But like, this is the point, yeah? That self-love, self-respect, all of it, healing is a natural byproduct of you reclaiming yourself. All healing is reclamation of self, is like literally reclaiming parts of you that were distorted, right? Your suffering isn't required. Suffering is living in pain, and that's not the point of it. Pain is just to go, this is bad for you, this hurts. Now, not all pain is this is bad for you. Sometimes we grieve and we feel pain because we lose, for example, people we love, and it's because of our love that we feel the pain, right? There's that pain, which is like, I said once a beautiful pain, and someone didn't like me saying that, but what I mean by it is the pain I feel because I grieve for someone I loved, right, is a beautiful pain because it's because of my love that I'm grieving them. The pain you feel when you're being pushed out of yourself, right, having to self-abandon, is not a beautiful pain. This is the pain that's going to lead to immense suffering. And the reason you feel so much suffering in the narcissistic abuse cycle is because you cannot live a happy and fulfilled life if you continue to self-abandon from yourself, right? And that leads to self-destruction or physical illness for a lot of people. Very, very common, right? So you can break the cycle, but what we're scared of isn't just leaving the narcissist. It's having the tools, it's having the wisdom, it's being able to know that we can be self-sufficient in our own lives, because in the cycle, you're kind of convinced that you can't take care of yourself to a large extent, right? That you need this person to exist. Can you see how that makes you kind of make them your God? The narcissist is not God. They think they're above God. They come from the dark. Don't worship them. You might have a transition period while you're getting things together. This isn't a judgment of whether you leave or not. It takes an enormous transcendence of self, right, to come into your sovereignty. So if you can join Sovereign, do. I've also got Live Fully Now, which is weekly inspirations and themes to keep you plugged in to a life that's worth living, to give you themes, right, to help you receive more from life, better from life, and create what you want in your life, or at least more of it, while you're navigating through things, right, in a better way. Lots of love, guys. I'll speak to you soon.